All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining our Alabama Special Programs Power Up webinar today. Hopefully you've got a good lunch in front of you so you can kick back and relax and get the latest and greatest from our model of special programs today. As we're going through our presentation, I'm going to be sharing some links with you and resources in the chat. If you missed our Power Up back in August, the very first link I'm going to post today is to our page in community where you can access that slide deck and the recording from this session. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that into the chat now. Today's recording will also be made available on this exact same page in community within the next day or two. So don't worry, there will be a recording made. We're actively recording right now, actually, and you'll be able to access it sometime today or tomorrow in community. In addition to the chat feature, we're also going to use the Q&A feature. Please ask any questions that you have as we go along here using this feature, and we'll do our best to answer them as they come in. And then I'll also try to save some time to address any outstanding questions at the end of the Power Up. On today's call, you're going to hear updates from ALSDE as well as our product and support teams. And our best practice focus for this month is transfer envelopes. For those of you joining us today for the first time, welcome. And for those of you returning this month, welcome back. I'm Katie Mowry. I'm a member of PowerSchool's EIC team, and I support customers as they grow in their use of products over time, specifically the enrollment products and in special programs. As always, I'm joined by Stacy Royster, who's your PowerSchool program coordinator, Gail Cummins, who's the product owner for the Alabama model of special programs, Dana Peterson, who serves as an engineer on our support team. And also joining us today are some other familiar voices from ALSDE, Eric Dixon and Michelle Lee. He'll take some time to provide some updates from their respective areas of special programs. Emily Hurst's gifted updates will be shared by Stacy today. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Stacy, who's going to share some updates on behalf of ALSDE.
So welcome everyone. Very excited today, and some of you have gotten an introduction to this that I'm about to talk about through some other avenues. But we do have a website where we are placing all of our help and training materials for users of all products of PowerSchool. So if you have not navigated and seen the PowerSchool Alabama Edition website, this is the link here. I will paste the link in chat right now so that you can have it and you can view. This is where you can go, and we've tabbed it out for content specific areas. So if you need information on grading or information on reports, enterprise reports, or on PD, things such as that, there is a tab on there for special programs. When you go into special programs, if you'll go to the next slide, Katie, you'll see subsets. The first landing page in special programs is going to be like generic things that are going to go across all modules inside of special programs. So it's going to be a lot of the security stuff. I know one of the biggest questions I still get about security is getting teachers in with the correct security rights, because we are seeing users still enter in teachers with special education viewer roles, which is not what they're intended to get, because that gives you location-wide access to special education students. You really want to give them the classroom teacher role. And so we have a video on there that will walk you through your options and how to do that and do that appropriately. Also on this page, you'll see breakout boxes for special education, 504, EL, all 5 modules inside of special programs, and you can go within those modules. So like if you want to see child count information, if you go into special education, you'll see the child count information, and we'll try to put all of the relevant information to help you navigate and assist your use of special programs. I know it can be extremely difficult when you onboard new employees who've had no experience in special programs. It's like, where do you start getting them training at? This is going to be your starting point. This is going to include all of the videos that we all use in implementation to learn about what a profile is, what documents are, what keyword tables are, so that you can go through and start educating yourselves and new users on the use of special programs. So I hope you find this very beneficial. It's still a work in progress. I'm still loading on into this website day to day. Literally, as people send me emails asking questions, I'm like, if they're asking a question, that means I need to have information somewhere that they can get it. So I'll add parts and pieces to this. So always check back on this. bookmark it, and anytime you're thinking anything on any part of special programs or Power School in general, come check this to see if we've already got you a step guide or a tutorial video out there for you. So I hope you find this very, very beneficial.
Thank you so much, Stacy. I know this is a huge value add to everyone, every LEA across Alabama. This is beautiful. Great work. I'm going to turn it over now to Eric, who's going to share some special education updates.
Thanks, Katie. Good afternoon, everyone. I just wanted to give you all a reminder in that you should remember to save your snapshots to your desktop or to your local drive once you have submitted your reports. To save the reports, you may follow the following steps in Power School Special Programs. You will go to the reporting link, standard reports, go to your state report snapshots, and then download whatever file that you choose, whether it's Excel, PDF, or CSV. There's others there. And that there's a screenshot right below that shows you where that information is there. And so this one shows child count, but you have several special education snapshots that you want to save on a regular basis once you have submitted your snapshot to the state. And so child count is just one example. You have your student exiting, you have your indicator reports, which includes your students evaluated within timeline, your EI to preschool snapshot, as well as your transition verification report. So just make sure that you don't forget to save your documents. Katie.
Thank you so much, Eric. I'm actually going to toss it right back to Stacy for gifted updates.
So Emily wanted to pass along this information. If you are a gifted coordinator in your district, the gifted referral snapshot is due Friday, November 18th. She has sent out an email on October 19th, the news you can use email that has the exact directions for reviewing and submitting that snapshot. So if you need that email, if you can't find it, you can email Emily. Her email is included below. Also, we have the Schoology Gifted Coordinator group that's in the resources pile under Power School Special Programs. You can find those directions in there as well. And one thing that I wanted to throw in is that periodically I get questions on, if you're not in special programs, how can you search for sub-pops of special program students inside of the SIS? So when you're on that main start page, one of the great things about Power School is it's like a super query. And if you know the actual field code that we are writing from special programs back to the SIS to, you can actually get those lists of students. So for example, if I wanted to a list of all active gifted students, this search criteria right here could be just copied and pasted into the search bar and you would immediately see. And so if you are wondering what any of the other searches are, I've just thrown them into chat. These would be something that are great to actually store away somewhere so that you can find all of your active students in our different sub-pops inside of SIS that are feeding from special programs.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Stacy. We're going to round out our ALSDE module updates with Michelle's EL news.
Hello, everyone. Well, this is kind of a repeat, but we still keep getting these questions. So just to let everyone know, if you, everyone should be completing their IELPs, and you either complete them on Elevation if you've already purchased Elevation, or if you have not purchased Elevation, you will be completing them in Power School. So if you have Elevations, you will complete the forms in Power School, but also in Power School, in Elevations. If you have Elevations, you're completing the IELP forms in Elevations, but in Power School, you still need to complete the student profile page. And if it's a new student, you'll have to complete the whole page, profile page. And if you're a returning student, all you would have to do is update the EL status if you need to. If you do not have Elevation and you would use Power School to complete your IELP forms. If you have a new student, you will complete the notification to parent forms and the individual English language plans. If you have a returning student and you completed the forms last year, then all you would have to do is copy the forms and update them. If a student had exited out this year, then you would complete the exit letter form in Power School. Because there was a question on what forms to complete. So here's a snapshot. When you create new documents, you would scroll down. Some of you may not have English learners right there at the top. So you would scroll down till you see the English learners. And these are the forms you would fill out: notification to parents on the initial screener, and the individual English language plan. Of course, you would only complete the EL Title III waiver form if they're waiving those services, or if the student has exited out of EL services this year, then you would also complete the exit letter form. But if you have more questions about completing the IELP, you can contact me. And my email information is there, and also my phone number is there.
Before we go off this slide, if I may, Michelle, a lot of times I don't think we know those little black marks, those little bookmarks that are on the right. Because this is the last grouping in that list when you have to scroll all the way down. If all you do is English learner, you can click on those and it puts it at the top of the page when you go to create a new document. Thought that would be helpful.
Good to know, Gail. Thank you. And thank you both for presenting on that. I know everyone today that's listening in today appreciates hearing about these module updates from you guys directly. So thank you so much, ALSDE team. I'm going to turn it back to you, Gail, for some product updates.
Welcome, everyone. I'm hoping that these power-ups are very beneficial and they're state-driven. So welcome to the meeting today. I'd just like to go over a few items that will be in our next release for the Alabama State Model, and that is scheduled for December 16th. So I'll go through these items with you. Also want to bring up, if you weren't on our last session, we talked about platform versus model releases. Platform releases are done the first full weekend of every month, and model releases are scheduled throughout the year. For students evaluated within timeline, there was a validation report that was showing an error for transfer out LEA and parent revoke consent. So we're correcting that to exclude those two reasons from that validation report. 504, we've gotten some questions, or actually some suggestions in the ideas portal. And we talked with Ayana about this, and we're going to be putting a text box in the signature line for parents so you can type in like you do on your IEP and other documents. Student exiting snapshot, and the export report. You'll see several reports that we put in for the next few releases. The start and end date was not part of the snapshot itself. So when the export was sent to the SIS, if you changed your school year, it was changing those dates. So we're making the start and end date part of the snapshot. Progress report, we got some feedback about progress report. There is a school field at the top of the screen. If you're in the middle of the school year and the student is still in that school, you don't need to make any changes to it. But if you have an IEP that goes across different school years, or you're creating it for the next school year and the student moves to a new school, we're adding the lookup feature to that field so you can change that school. So when that progress report goes home to the parent, it has the correct school on it. Transition profile. This is a new profile we created last year for your transition verification report to store that data. And it's not currently preserving the history on it, so that we're making a revision on that profile to do that so that it will keep the history from year to year on it. A few others that will be added to this next release. This is a big one, and I want to talk about it. And Michelle, you can jump in on this one if you want. Country of origin. Country of origin field is in many places. It's in a couple places in special programs. It's in a couple places in the SIS. So the State Department and the SIS product owner and myself will work together to try to streamline some of this. So country of origin is no longer going to be flowing from the document to the profile when you're in the individual English learner plan, and it will not be a required field. So that data will not flow anymore to that one. Also, data no longer flow from special programs to the SIS. The SIS will own this data. So currently we already have where if the English language survey is filled out, the country is filled out in the SIS, we have data flow to the profile, the EL profile at the bottom of the screen on the profile is all data that comes in from the SIS. And so that data will continue to flow from the SIS and will be on that record. And also there's another field for country of origin that the data will flow to it too, based on what's put in on the English language survey in the SIS. And so all of that work is being done. If you have questions about that, y'all can reach out about it, but it was in so many places that we really needed to make sure that we had that data flowing correctly. All right, this is one I wanted to talk to in a little bit more length too, is the transfer IEP documents. When an IEP transfers currently, we have a property on that document template to make it a live document. So when you receive the document, and we did talk about this in the last Power Up, so if you were in the last one, you probably remember a little bit about this. It comes in with the PDF, and then right above it, it comes with a little link, a half circle arrow that allows you to make it a live document. But when you make it a live document currently today, what will happen is it makes the document draft. And so we've put in a request to make that document come over as final status. If it came from the previous district at final, should remain in final. And that way you don't have to do an amendment or anything on the document for progress reports. Progress reports should be editable and final in your security settings currently. So you don't have to, when you make it live to do the progress reports, you don't have to amend it or unfinalize the document. You can go directly to the progress report to enter your new marking periods and comments. So that is going to be in this next feature. We had to do it in 2 steps. The platform team had to make some changes and they went out this last weekend. And now we have to put some properties on the IEP document. I know we're focused in this next release just for the IEP document, primarily because of the suggestion we had about the progress report. But I did meet with the state yesterday and we're talking about possibly doing the same functionality for all documents when they transfer in, as if they were final in the previous district, to keep them final status when they receive them at the new district. So it doesn't mean you can't amend the document. You can still do that, but that's how you make changes to it. And then the last thing is there's a feature in special programs that's called workflow case types. And we have been working throughout the year with the State Department to build out 3 case types to start you off so that you can start using those in your program. Currently, it's in pilot. Once we finish the pilot testing, we hope to push it out in the December release. And then you can start using that feature. Now, that feature has a lot of documentation. If you go up to your question mark and you do user help and just do a search on workflow case types, it'll tell you how to add the cases for the workflows to your students and how you can start tracking them. So that's what I have for today. Oh, one last slide. Community. We've been bringing this up in all of your your sessions that we want to still push it along. Not as many folks are using the community as we'd like to see. Just a reminder, there's an ideas portal, and Katie, I think just put the link in the chat for how you get to the community. You go up in the community, you go under support, and then you see ideas portal. And then if you see on the screenshot here on the left side, if you scroll down, you'll see special programs, and then it's all listed out by state. This is a good place for the state to review what's being requested, so that they know if there's something that y'all have a suggestion on that they might want to bring to us to change in the model, or other LEAs. So there's a little voting system with the ideas portal, so that when you go in here and review something, you can vote on it. And a lot of times, the more votes we get, the higher up the list it's going to get. So, please continue to use the ideas portal. That would be a great opportunity for y'all to see what's going on and what's being requested.
Thank you so much for those updates, Gail, and for reminding us about the good use of the ideas portal. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Dana so she can share some of the trends that our support team has observed over the last couple of months.
Welcome to our Power Up. This is Dana, and of course, most of you already know me. I see that we had an update that went out over the weekend that will now allow you to go back in and add those keywords to your tables. A lot of you had issues with the eligibility assessments and transition assessments, not being able to add those. And so we, of course, were able to add those for you until this was updated. So now you'll be able to do that without having to create a support ticket. We're still having a lot of issues with the student profiles that are being imported into your database. When you get that envelope, there is a section on there before you click to merge documents that says merge the profile data. If you don't merge that profile data, especially if you have a student that came into your district who had been there before, left and came back, the old data would still be in there. That would not be accurate data. And therefore, some of those things that are calculated fields have to be updated based on those dates that are entered. And if you don't do that, of course, then you wind up having data that looks like it's incorrect, even though you know that it is. The other items that we've had most recently were because you just did your child count snapshot and several students were not added to your snapshot in the process because of one reason or another. And so we wanted to make sure that you know how to get those students added to your snapshot. That would be when you are on the student's individual profile, you would go to the flyout, and then you would click on the one that says state reporting. After you click on the state reporting one, then you're able to go ahead and scroll down to that student section at the bottom where it says child count, and you would be able to either populate the reporting snapshot, or you would be able to do an update to the reporting snapshot. So if a student had data that had changed on their profile, perhaps they had the wrong LRE code or the wrong exceptionality and you corrected it, then you would be doing an update to that student for that reporting profile. And of course, if you still have questions about that, you can give me a call and I'll be glad to walk you through that. The other questions we had a lot for were the bulk printing of the progress reports and getting them on a single page if at all possible. And I had a district in the state who provided us some information on that so that we were able to share that with the districts who ask about bulk printing for their progress reports by creating a report for the users and then using the settings in your print browser to at least get the goal and the legend on one page so that it would not have to be separate pages for all of those. And so if you're still needing some of that, we're of course willing to go ahead and get that set up for you. Just go ahead and enter a case in the community and I'll be glad to help you, or Darlene will. And then our missing integration IDT, something that we, I guess, are going to have ongoing for the end of time. If they get a duplicate profile created in the SIS or in the special programs, of course, we need to make sure that we get the correct one that has all the historical data for those students in SIS first. And then we make sure that we match up what is in SIS in special programs. I typically work with our SIS support to make sure that we get the right data and that we're not missing anything. And then we always update your missing integration IDTs so that those profiles are correct. Again, if you have any duplicate students, we would prefer that you give us a call or give us a case and we work with you on that so that we don't miss any data. I had several calls in the last few weeks about the students not being able to have transition added to their IEPs. And so I just wanted to make sure we had a quick screenshot of an IEP. If they are supposed to have transition, there is a section on there that says secondary transition student when you open up that IEP and start working on it. If you need transition for a student, you're going to have to select that box and then save that form, and then you'll be able to go ahead and add the transition for those students. And of course, that's under a set document and sections if you didn't get the transition to start with. And that has been most of our issues since our last Power Up meeting.
Dana, thank you so much.
Can I add one thing, Katie?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go back a
For
slide.
the printing issue, I think we can get that to Stacy and she can put it in her little document too. So I'll get that to you, Stacy, so that others will know how to get that setting in their printer.
Absolutely. We'll put it in the newsletter and put it on the website.
Yeah. So I'll get that to you and that way everybody can learn how to print that on one page.
Awesome. Thank you, Gail. Love this collaboration. Finally, for today's meeting, I'm going to share some best practices and reminders that pertain specifically to the transfer envelope process. Earlier this week, with the support team, my colleague Robin Skidmore, who's also on this call, another EIC on my team, delivered a general special programs power up that was focused on utilities and transfer envelopes. And in it, she walked through the step-by-step process, kind of in a quick overview. So I'm not going to spend any time doing that today. So instead, I'm going to point you to the recording for this session that's in community, as well as to a couple of other resources from the site that Stacy shared at the top of the hour that are specific to your state model. I'm going to place these links for you in the chat right now. That way we don't spend any time going over a how-to because all the resources are already here for you and most of you already do know how to do it. The information that I want to share with you today, though, will highlight some important reminders that get commonly forgotten about or missed or done incorrectly. And then I will also share some newer functionality too. So first up, as a reminder, you can set more than one user in the transfer notification security group if you want more than one person to receive those notifications, those transfer notification messages. In fact, you can have as many requesters or senders as you wish. So to do this, you'll select Utilities, Receive Student Transfer Envelope. Then you'll click to set the receiving user, as you'll see here in the screenshot. And then you'll choose by staff ID or by security group. If you choose by security group, then you'll be able to add all of the people who are already in that security group. Next, if you cannot find the student on the general education student page within special programs, and there's no data sync down here in this transfer information section, this means that the student is not yet in your LEA's SIS, and you should not proceed with processing the transfer envelope. Don't process the transfer envelope until you've received the transfer notification message. Now for some updates. You can now extend the expiration date for transfer envelopes. So if someone missed it, or if someone needs more than the initial time to review that or receive that, you can extend the expiration date now by using this click path. The expiration date will be extended by 7 days, but you can continually do that until it's the amount of time that you wish. So if you wish to extend it by about a month, you can click it 4 times and that'll be 28 days. And then as a note, after an envelope is sent, the received by column will populate with data about who is receiving that envelope. Once the import is received, if the student already exists in special programs, you will see the options to merge documents and select profile field values for merging. This is kind of what Dana was speaking about earlier. If you don't click select profile for field values for merging, the student profile fields will be empty if you imported them first in the general ed student profile. If you don't import them from the general ed student profile, you'll not see the merge screen. The records will not transfer correctly. Verify that the student has been enrolled in SIS before importing any envelopes. All right, we have a couple of reminders for you guys. We do have a couple of questions that have come in, so we'll handle those in just a moment. As a reminder, we've already had our last power up for special programs, the general special programs session earlier this week. We have one more office hours for special programs this year. It will also cover utilities and transfer envelopes, so come with your questions. That'll be on December 1st. And then new for next year, Robin and her team are going to be offering monthly special programs power ups. You can get all the latest and greatest with special programs monthly. And then we are working to nail down with our success operations team a date in mid-February for our first 2023 Alabama specific special programs power up. You'll be receiving a link to register very soon. Meantime, I'm going to pop some other links for you in the chat with the ability to review recordings from previous power up sessions, as well as to register for this upcoming office hours. And then finally, one more update that I was asked to share with you is that very soon, PSU is coming to you, coming to your backyard. So we hope you'll join us for PSU Mobile and also PSU Educators. Both of them are in early December, so I'm hoping that you can join us. I'm gonna, again, pop some links in the chat for you. We do have an early bird special right now. I think if you register by the end of next week, there is a discount. So that's a perk, a reason to register early. So with that, I think we have a few questions that have come in. Gail, do you want to help me to address those? I can read them out if that's helpful.
You're going to the Q&A, right, Katie?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a way that special ed will not override EL? We are still dealing with students being marked inactive in special program, therefore they are inactive in special ed, therefore they're inactive. So I'm assuming that this means that you're talking about the deactivate where they have the big red inactive on a student. And that way the student looks like they're inactive in the program. In our last power up that we had, and Stacy, you can help me with this. I think we talked about when to deactivate a student, and we pretty much said that we don't want you to deactivate these students unless you've checked all of your special programs to make sure. And there is a big message that we put in here too that says when you deactivate to make sure that the student isn't in another module.
That is correct, because one of the things that we are seeing is that a lot of people are, when they're used to just doing that deactivation from sets, and if you deactivate in special programs, it takes them out of all modules. And so really there is no purpose in deactivating students in special programs until they really graduate or that they hit that cohort year so that you know they're not coming back, because you don't want to touch a kid that still has an enrollment record in your SIS to take them out of any other modules that they might be in, because we do have all other 5. So we have to be careful that you don't use that and that you just inactivate within the profiles of your module that you're responsible for.
Right. So there isn't an automated way for us to do that, but that's the message we've been passing along, what Stacy and I just conveyed. So hopefully that will help. Next questions: when will special programs automatically roll over the EL status? We don't currently roll over the EL status. I think I have seen that before. If we can get some proper requirements for when and which status to roll to, it may be a possibility, but right now we don't have the ability to do that. That might be something that maybe Stacy and Michelle and I can get together and talk about a little bit. Because you are manually have to go in there and change that status.
And I will say this, Teresa, there is a way, if you're familiar with the utilities and replacing student fields, if there was a group of them that you needed to do in mass, like if by chance all of your kids enrolled on the first day and you set their status as the first day of school, and so, next year you need to move all of your year ones to year two, you can grab all of those through your search and replace that student field value in there all at one time on that subgroup of kids. So you don't necessarily have to do it student by student. You can do it in larger subsets and swap them over if you need to. So if you need directions or help with that, just reach out to me and we can get you those directions.
Yeah, that's a good point, Stacy. They can replace that value in the utilities. We do not always they're bouncing. We do not always receive a notification when a student transfers from another AL system and receives special ed services. I have submitted a ticket, talked with the sport, and it is still very random when we receive the issue. I don't know what the answer would be to that. That was something that support would have to work through with you to find out why some are coming through and some aren't. So continue to work with the Power School support personnel, and maybe we can find something that's common. And then we can, if it's something that's common that we find, then we can put a ticket in for it to get it fixed.
So I will say, Gail, one of the biggest contributors I've seen to this happening is the issue that we're having with duplicate SSIDs. So we know that sometimes when you enroll a new student in CS and you go to the state locator to do that enrollment, they don't necessarily match in there. And we've got support trying to figure out why they don't match unless you search on the SSID. What's happening is a lot of inexperienced registrars, data clerks will see a no match and think, oh, well, this kid just doesn't have a record in the state, and they create a new enrollment record. So it might be that, yes, I was a student in this district that was receiving special ed services, but when I moved to this new district, when they did the locator search, it didn't match me, so they created a new enrollment. Well, that gives a new SSID, which means special programs is not going to alert because it's not the same as the SSID that was over here in the previous district. So we've got to start making conscious efforts for our people who are doing enrollment, that when you hit that locator screen, if you know that they came from a district in another, in the state of Alabama, another district, you do not hit the no match. Because they've got a record in there. It might be that you have to search on the SSID to pull it so that we stop getting this disconnect between CS and all the other programs, because it's causing havoc in Schoology and in special programs. And that's why you aren't getting notifications on a lot of those kids. They have a different SSID in their other district with those notifications.
Okay, so Robbie, yeah, that's correct. You can only put them in one security group. So what would happen is that you would, if you've got different users that are going to be responsible for transfers across your district, you can create a security group and give them access to that. And then the folks in that group would be able to work with the transfers. Multiple users in a student folder at the same time. So there's a message that comes up, and I'm trying to remember the exact wording of the message. But if two users are in a document or a profile at the same time, a message will come up when they go and try to do save, that the record is currently being updated by the other user, and then your changes will be put in afterwards. So I think that's, I don't remember the exact message, but that's the process of how it works. First one in, I think, gets to put the data in, and then the second will follow. I don't know what SRIPs are.
Okay, so it jumped. We are actually working on a whole new solution to SRIPs. We did investigate putting it into special programs, but we also know that a lot of districts want flexibility and being able to change some things in documents, which doesn't allow in special programs, and you wouldn't get that overarching view of the data coming in from SIS that would be like the grades, the behavior, the attendance, things like that. So stay tuned, because after Christmas, hopefully we're going to do a big presentation to share with you something that Bonnie Short and I have been working on that y'all are going to absolutely fall in love with. I will say personally, coming from a district, I wish I had what we're about to give everyone in the state. So just stay tuned, because there's lots of great information coming on a new product that you will see that ties all of this together for us.
Well, that's good news, Stacy. Thank you. So Sunithia, are you saying that you're not getting the notifications when someone you got two people in the same records? If that's the case, I think that you might want to contact support and see what's going on there, because I just had this conversation with somebody the other day about the message coming up. So there's a message supposed to come up that someone else is in the record. So if that's not happening, then we need to track that down some. Robbie, no, the security group does not have to be created in the SIS. It would be created in the special programs. I think that's what you're asking. All right. I hope I answered both your questions, Robbie, just the special programs. If a student is made inactive in special ed and they are gifted or ESL student, when are they marked active? They have not been deactivated. So if you have a student that's that it was special ed and they test out, they're no longer special ed, but they are also gifted, you want to keep the status for the gifted student active, and for the special ed student, you want to make sure that you put in your exiting information. I hope that answered your question. All right, remind us about checking all of the previous years and documents to transfer to another district. We get transfer envelopes with only the IEP and other documents from the current year. So there's a checkbox, there's a box on there when they transfer. And Dana, you can jump in. I think it's asked if you just want the current year documents, or do you want all of the documents, or if you want finalized documents or not, or just finalized documents. They should be sending you everything, I would think. Dana, has that come up in support?
Yes, it has come up several times where the district went in and was sending the transfer envelope and they just left it at the current year 22-23. That is a drop down or a drop up feature that you choose. And I always tell them just to go back to the beginning of time. So it's like a 2008, 2009 record, and make sure that they don't just use the finalized documents, because there could be something that's in draft or review that needs to be sent as well. So they just need to be careful when they start transferring those envelopes that they include everything, because the gaining district needs all of the information from the previous district as well.
Yeah, so Sherry, I would add to that too, that you probably could ask them to send just the older documents to you again in that one case. But we've been trying to do a lot of training and passing along information on transfer envelopes. And maybe the next power up, we need to touch on it again, Katie. I don't know. There seems to be always a lot of questions around it.
I think that might be it in terms of questions that come in. have come in.
Is there anything in the chat?
Not that hasn't also been put in Q&A, I don't think.
Okay. So we answered all of Charlotte's questions.
I think so. Stacy, did you want to touch base on that, the strips again?
Yeah, and Charles, I'll say that because I know you're using the RTI, this module that we're looking at, it will be all inclusive in there, and it actually lends to the whole MTSS model that we're moving toward in the state. So it's actually going to pull all of it together in one spot for you.
Charlotte is asking for clarification that it will be in PSSP.
No, it will not be in special programs. It's in a separate place in Power School.
All right, thank you, Stacy. Any last questions?
Okay.
All right.
All right. So, Charlotte, I think that